The waiter's words still echo in my mind, even months later. Please, don't drink from the left glass. Those 6 words saved my life, though I didn't realize it then. That quiet whisper, barely audible above the restaurant's elegant hum, was the thread that unraveled everything I thought I knew about my marriage. Before I continue, please take a moment to hit the like button and comment. Thank you. Your support helps me reach more people who might need to hear this. My name is Gina Santana, and I'm 32 years old. 5 years ago, I married Marcus Santana, a man I believed was my soulmate. This story took place on our 5th wedding anniversary, in a restaurant that would become the setting for the most terrifying night of my life. Marcus had insisted on Lear Dom for our anniversary. Not suggested, not recommended, insisted. That should have been my first clue. In 5 years of marriage, Marcus had never cared much about anniversaries. He'd forgotten our first one completely, showing up with gas station flowers at 10 p.m. after I'd cried for hours. But this year, he made reservations 3 months in advance. "You deserve the best, baby," he'd said, kissing my forehead with lips that suddenly felt foreign. 5 years is a milestone. The restaurant was beautiful, I'll give him that. Soft lighting, white tablecloths, the kind of place where the waiter pulls out your chair and the menu doesn't list prices. Marcus was different that night too, attentive in a way that felt rehearsed. He kept checking his phone, then apologizing, saying it was work, but his eyes kept darting toward me, studying my face like he was memorizing it. "I ordered us something special," he announced when the waiter approached. "A vintage Bordeaux. You're going to love it." I don't even like red wine. 5 years of marriage and he ordered me red wine. The waiter, a young man with kind eyes and slightly trembling hands, poured our glasses with practiced precision. Marcus's phone rang just as he finished. "Damn it," Marcus muttered, checking the screen. "It's the Tokyo office. I have to take this. Don't wait for me. Try the wine." He stepped away, heading toward the restaurant's entrance for better reception. That's when it happened. The waiter leaned down, pretending to adjust my napkin, and whispered those words. "Please don't drink from the left glass." My blood turned to ice. The left glass was mine. I looked up at him, my heart pounding against my ribs. His eyes met mine for just a second, pleading, warning, terrified, before he straightened and walked away as if nothing had happened. My hands shook as I reached for my water glass instead, my mind racing. Why would he say that? What was in my wine? Marcus was still on his phone, gesturing animatedly near the door. I could see him but couldn't hear his conversation. His free hand kept running through his hair, his tell when he was nervous. I'd learned that tell during business meetings that went until 2 a.m., during his explanations about credit card charges I didn't recognize, during every lie I chose to believe because believing was easier than facing the truth. The wine sat there, deep red in the crystal glass, looking exactly like the one across from it, identical, perfect, poisoned. No, that was crazy. This was my husband, the man who held my hand through my mother's funeral, who promised to love and cherish me, who had recently become very interested in my grandmother's inheritance. The realization hit me like a physical blow. Grandma Rose had passed 6 months ago, leaving me everything, $500,000 and her house in Connecticut. Marcus had been struggling with his real estate developments, but he assured me everything was fine, that we didn't need to touch my inheritance. "That's your security," he'd said. "I'd never ask you to risk that." But he'd been different since then, more attentive, more romantic, more insistent about updating our wills, about joint bank accounts, about planning for our future. He even suggested I should get life insurance, just in case something happens. I watched him through the restaurant window, still on his phone, and made a decision that probably saved my life. When he turned his back completely, I quickly switched our wine glasses. My hands moved faster than my thoughts, swapping them while my heart threatened to burst from my chest. As I settled back in my chair, trying to look casual, I thought about how we'd gotten here. How does a marriage go from promise to poison? Marcus and I met at a charity gala 7 years ago. He was everything I wasn't, confident where I was shy, sophisticated where I was simple. He owned a real estate development company, wore Italian suits, and could make everyone in a room turn to listen when he spoke. When he focused that attention on me, a junior marketing coordinator at a nonprofit, I felt like I'd won the lottery. "You're different," he'd said on our first date. "You're real, genuine. You don't want anything from me except me." How those words would come back to haunt me. The courtship was a whirlwind. Flowers every week, surprise trips to Martha's Vineyard, dinners at restaurants I'd only read about in magazines. My friends were envious, though looking back, my best friend Sarah had tried to warn me. "He's moving too fast, and why doesn't he want you to meet his family?" But I was in love, or maybe just in love with the idea of being loved that way. We married within 2 years. It was a small ceremony because Marcus said he wanted it intimate. I later learned his first wife's family had threatened to show up and tell me the truth about him. The controlling behavior started small, like drops of poison in a well. He didn't like my work clothes, too frumpy. He suggested I quit my job. "I can take care of you," he said. He monitored our spending. "We need to be careful with money." Each request seemed reasonable on its own, but together, they built a cage I didn't even realize I was living in. Things changed when the inheritance came. Suddenly, Marcus was the man from our courtship again. Date nights returned. He bought me jewelry I hadn't asked for. He suggested couples therapy to strengthen our bond. He even cried one night telling me how much he loved me, how he couldn't imagine life without me. "We should update our paperwork," he'd mentioned casually one morning. "Make sure we're each other's beneficiaries. It's what married people do." The life insurance conversation happened a week later. $2 million, same as mine, he lied. I later learned his was only for $500,000. Now, sitting in that elegant restaurant with the switched wine glasses between us, everything made horrible sense. The sudden romance wasn't love rekindled. It was a murderer grooming his victim. The tears weren't real. They were part of the performance. The man I'd promised to love until death do us part was apparently taking that timeline into his own hands. Marcus finally returned to the table, sliding his phone into his pocket with an apologetic smile that didn't reek his eyes. "Sorry about that, baby. You know how it is with international clients." He sat down, immediately reaching for his wine glass, the one that had been mine. "You haven't tried the wine yet? Come on, I ordered it specially for you." "I was waiting for you," I said, proud of how steady my voice sounded. "You know I like us to toast together." He smiled then. A real smile this time, and I saw something in it that chilled me. Anticipation. "To 5 wonderful years," he said, raising his glass, "and to many more." "To the truth," I countered, watching his face carefully, "and to getting exactly what we deserve." Something flickered in his eyes. Confusion, concern, but he clinked his glass against mine anyway. We both brought our glasses to our lips. I pretended to sip, barely letting the liquid touch my closed lips. Marcus, distracted by another buzz from his phone, took a real drink. "This is excellent," he said, though I could see him grimace slightly. "You really should try it." "I am," I lied, fake sipping again. "It's interesting, very bold." "Drink more," he urged, his hand actually reaching over to tip my glass higher. "I want you to really taste it. I chose it especially for tonight." The possession in his voice, the insistence, it all confirmed what I'd suspected. This wasn't about wine. This was about something in the wine. Marcus launched into a speech then, standing up slightly, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. It was unlike him. He hated public displays. "Gina, my darling wife," he began, his voice carrying across the restaurant. "5 years ago, you made me the happiest man alive. You've stood by me through everything, the business struggles, the long nights, the uncertainty. You've been my rack, my anchor, my everything." The words were beautiful. The delivery was perfect. The intent was murder. I played my part, dabbing at my eyes with my napkin, smiling up at him with what I hoped looked like adoration rather than the growing horror I actually felt. Around us, other diners were watching, some smiling at what they thought was a romantic anniversary dinner. "I know I haven't been the best husband lately," Marcus continued. His phone was buzzing again, but he ignored it. "The business has been struggling. I've been distant, but that all changes tonight. Tonight is a new beginning for us. A new beginning, yes, just not the kind he thought. Drink with me, he said, sitting back down and raising his glass again. Really, drink. I want to see you enjoy it. Marcus, I said softly, you're embarrassing me. Everyone's watching. Let them watch, he said, and there was something desperate in his voice now. I want the whole world to see how much I love my wife. His phone buzzed again. This time he grabbed it, irritated. What the hell? He muttered, reading something on the screen. His face changed, went pale. I need to just drink your wine, okay? I'll be right back. But he didn't leave. Instead, he texted furiously, his fingers flying across the screen. I took the opportunity to study him. Really study him. When had he become a stranger? When had the man I married become someone capable of this? Is everything okay? I asked innocently. You seem stressed. It's fine, he snapped, then caught himself. Sorry, baby. Just some timing issues with a deal here. Let's not let business ruin our night. He put his phone face down on the table and picked up his wine glass again, my original glass. Together this time, he said. Really, drink. I raised my glass to my lips and pretended to take a long sip, letting the liquid barely touch my closed snaps, while I watched him over the rim. He drank deeply, probably to encourage me to do the same. There, he said, seeming satisfied. Doesn't that taste expensive? It tastes like betrayal, I wanted to say. Instead, I smiled. It's certainly memorable. We sat there for about 15 minutes, Marcus growing increasingly agitated. He kept checking his watch, his phone, my face, looking for something, waiting for something. Are you feeling okay? He asked for the third time. You look a little flushed. I'm fine, I assured him. Maybe it's the wine. I'm not used to reds this strong. He leaned forward eagerly. Maybe we should go home. You should rest. But we haven't even ordered dinner yet, I pointed out, and you made such a big deal about this reservation. His jaw clenched. I think you might be getting sick. You look pale. Actually, I said carefully, you're the one who looks pale. Are you feeling all right? And he did look pale. There was a sheen of sweat on his forehead that hadn't been there before. His hand trembled slightly as he reached for his water glass. I'm fine, he said, but his voice was strained. Just hot in here. The waiter appeared then, the same one who'd warned me. Are you ready to order, sir? We need a few more minutes, Marcus said curtly, then louder. Actually, we might need to leave. My wife isn't feeling well. I'm feeling perfectly fine, I corrected, looking directly at the waiter. But my husband seems to be struggling. Perhaps some fresh air would help. The waiter's eyes flickered between us, understanding dawning on his face. Would you like me to call someone? Ma'am, you seem concerned about your husband? Not yet, I said meaningfully, but stay close, please. Marcus missed the exchange entirely. He was gripping the edge of the table now, his knuckles white. Gina, we need to go. Now. Why? I asked, no longer pretending.
What's the rush, Marcus? Afraid something might happen if we stay? He looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw the moment he began to suspect something was wrong. Not with me, with him. You know, if you're finding this story valuable, if it's opening your eyes to signs you might have missed in your own life, please consider subscribing to my channel. Every subscription helps me reach more women who might need to hear these warnings. And please leave a comment about a time when your instincts saved you. We need to remind each other to trust that inner voice. Marcus stood up suddenly, his chair scraping against the floor. We're leaving. Sit down, I said quietly. You're making a scene. I don't care about a scene. His voice was rising now, and other diners were definitely watching. We need to go to the hospital. I might need what, Marcus? I kept my voice calm, though my heart was racing. Medical attention. For what, exactly? He grabbed my arm then, hard enough to hurt. Stop playing games. We're leaving. Sir? The waiter appeared instantly, 2 other staff members behind him. Please let go of the lady. This is my wife, Marcus snarled, but his grip loosened. Sweat was pouring down his face. Now we're leaving. Actually, I said, standing, but pulling away from him,
I think you're the one who needs medical attention. You don't look well at all." Marcus took a step toward me and stumbled. His hand went to his throat. "What did you—" His eyes went wide with realization. "The wine. You switched—" He didn't finish the sentence. His legs gave out and he crashed to the floor, taking a water glass with him. The crystal shattered, the sound sharp in the sudden silence. "Call 911, someone shouted. Marcus was on his back, gasping. "She poisoned me," he managed to get out. "My wife, she—" "No," I said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I didn't poison anyone, but someone tried to poison me." The waiter was already on the phone with emergency services. Another staff member brought water, trying to help Marcus, who was now mumbling incoherently about the wrong glass. It wasn't supposed to be like this. What wasn't supposed to be like this? I asked, kneeling beside him, but not touching him. What was supposed to happen tonight, Marcus? "Rachel," he gasped. "Call Rachel. She'll know what to do." Rachel, his business partner, the one he'd been having all those late meetings with. Who's Rachel, Marcus? And what will she know? But he was beyond answering coherently now, curled on his side, alternating between accusing me and begging for help. The other dyers had backed away, forming a circle of horrified faces. Someone was recording on their phone. The paramedics arrived within minutes, followed closely by the police. As they worked on Marcus, loading him onto a stretcher, one of the officers approached me. "Ma'am, can you tell me what happened here?" I looked him straight in the eye. "My husband tried to poison me. I switched our wine glasses. He drank his own poison." The officer's eyebrows shot up. "That's a serious accusation, ma'am." "Yes," I agreed. "It is." And that waiter, I pointed to the young man who'd saved my life, saw my husband put something in my glass. That's why he warned me. The restaurant erupted in chaos. Then the manager appeared, insisting this was impossible. Other staff members were questioned. The waiter, looking terrified but determined, confirmed my story. "I saw him," he told the police. "When he went outside for his phone call, he wasn't really on the phone. He put something in your glass, a powder or something. I've seen him before. In the news. His first wife died under suspicious circumstances. I couldn't let it happen again." His first wife. The words hit me like a physical blow. I knew Marcus had been married before, but he'd said she died in a car accident. Tragic, he'd always said, refusing to talk about it further. As they wheeled Marcus out, he managed to grab the officer's sleeve. "She switched the glasses," he rasped. "She knew. She tried to kill me." "No," I said clearly enough for everyone to hear. "I didn't poison anyone, but someone tried to poison me." The officer looked between us, then made a decision. "We're going to need both of those wine glasses tested. Nobody touch anything. This is now a crime scene." I sat back down at our anniversary table, surrounded by broken glass and chaos, and felt oddly calm. The worst had already happened. I had discovered my husband was a monster. Everything else was just aftermath. The waiter brought me a glass of water, his hands trembling. "I'm sorry," he whispered softly. "I didn't know how else to warn you." "You saved my life," I told him, my voice steady despite the chaos still swirling around us. "What's your name?" "James," he replied quietly. "James Mitchell." "Well, James Mitchell, you're my guardian angel. But tell me, how did you know? How did you really know?" He glanced around before leaning closer. "My sister dated him years ago, before his first wife. She said he was dangerous, that he threatened her when she tried to leave, and when his wife died, I always wondered. When I saw him tonight slip something into your glass, I knew I couldn't stay silent." The nearby officer overheard and immediately began taking James's detailed statement. As for me, I reached for my phone and called the only person I could think of. "Sarah," I said as soon as my best friend answered, "I need you to come to Leonid and bring that lawyer friend of yours. Marcus just tried to kill me." The police station at 2 a.m. looked nothing like in the movies. No dramatic shadows or sleek glass rooms. Just flickering fluorescent lights, uncomfortable plastic chairs, and the bitter smell of stale coffee that probably had been sitting since yesterday. I'd been there for 3 hours, repeating my story over and over, while across town, Marcus was in a hospital having his stomach pumped. Detective Patricia Reeves, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes but a cautious gaze, sat across from me, her notepad already half full. Let's go through this one more time, Mrs. Santana. Your husband ordered wine, stepped out for a phone call, and you switched our glasses because a waiter warned you. Yes, I answered, for what felt like the hundredth time. James Mitchell told me not to drink from my glass. And why would you believe a stranger over your husband? Sarah, sitting beside me with her lawyer friend, David Chen, squeezed my hand. Tell her about the insurance policy, Gina. So I did. I told her about the $2 million policy Marcus convinced me to sign 2 months ago, about his sudden obsession with my inheritance, his insistence on updating our wills, the night I'd gotten violently ill after he cooked dinner, something he'd never done before or since. Detective Reeves kept writing, her expression shifting from skepticism to concern. We'll need to verify all of this. The good news is, the restaurant has cameras. We should have footage of everything. David leaned forward. My client has been fully cooperative. Is she under arrest? No, Detective Reeves said firmly. Based on the waiter's statement and the preliminary footage, it's clear Mrs. Santana acted in self-defense, but we'll need her available for further questions. Just then, another detective entered, his expression grim. Pat, you need to see this. They stepped outside, leaving me with Sarah and David. Through the narrow window in the door, I could see them watching something on a tablet. Their faces grew more serious by the second. When Detective Reeves returned, her demeanor had changed entirely. Mrs. Santana, she said slowly, the substance in your wine glass has been identified. It's rohypnol mixed with a high dose of fentanyl. That combination would have killed you within hours. It was designed to look like an overdose. My stomach turned cold. He really tried to kill me? Yes, she replied grimly. But there's more. She turned her tablet toward me. We have the security footage. Your husband clearly put something in your glass during that phone call. But here's what's interesting. He was texting someone named Rachel the entire time. We've subpoenaed his phone records. That name again, Rachel. Who is Rachel? The detective asked. His business partner, I said. They've been working on some project for the past year, a lot of late meetings. The detectives exchanged a look. We'll need to bring her in. 2 hours later, Rachel was in custody, and that's when everything started to unravel. Rachel Winters, 29, blonde, and clearly not just a business partner, made a fatal mistake at the hospital. She'd rushed to Marcus's bedside, which wasn't suspicious on its own, but her first question to the doctors was, why isn't his wife affected? She drank the same wine. The doctor, quick to sense something was wrong, immediately called the police. By the time Rachel was brought in, she was already breaking down. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she kept repeating. Marcus said it would be peaceful. The text messages between Marcus and Rachel revealed everything. They had been having an affair for 18 months. Marcus was drowning in debt, nearly $3 million owed to dangerous lenders. My inheritance and the life insurance were his way out. Their messages were damning. After tonight, we can be together, Marcus texted at 6 p.m. Are you sure about the dosage? Rachel replied at 6:47 p.m. I Googled it. This will work, he sent back at 6:48 p.m. I love you. After this, we'll have everything, Rachel wrote at 7:15 p.m. But the message that broke me completely was from 3 weeks earlier. The first one was harder. This will be easier. She trusts me completely. Marcus. The first one, his first wife, Jennifer. Detective Reeves retrieved Jennifer's file. She had died 3 years before Marcus met me. Official cause of death, accidental overdose of prescription medication mixed with alcohol. No autopsy. Marcus had her cremated within 2 days. We're reopening that case, Detective Reeves said quietly. Her family always suspected something, but there wasn't enough proof at the time. From there, the investigation moved fast. Rachel, desperate to save herself, turned on Marcus immediately. She confessed everything, how she'd gotten the drugs through her job at a pharmaceutical company, how Marcus promised her marriage and half of everything once I was gone. He said his wife was abusive. She said she was threatening to leave him and take everything. He said it was self-defense. But Marcus had made too many mistakes. On his laptop, he had searched for how long does fentanyl stay in the system, accidental overdose symptoms, and how to act sad at a funeral. He even saved a draft of my obituary dated a week before our anniversary dinner. The man I'd shared my life with for 5 years had been planning my death while I slept beside him. The next morning, while Marcus lay in the hospital under police guard, the truth kept unfolding. Jennifer's sister, Patricia, had been fighting for years to get someone to believe her. When she heard what happened to me, she drove 4 hours to meet with Detective Reeves and me. Jennifer was terrified of him, Patricia said, her hands trembling as she held a worn box of papers. She kept a journal. She wrote down everything, the control, the threats, how we isolated her. She was planning to leave. Patricia opened the leather-bound journal, its pages filled with Jennifer's neat handwriting. And for the first time, I saw my own nightmare reflected in another woman's words. The last entry was dated 2 days before her death. Marcus had discovered the divorce lawyer. He had been calm, too calm. It frightened me more than when he yelled. Patricia had uncovered more. Jennifer had a life insurance policy too, worth $1 million. Marcus paid off his debts after she died, bought a new car, and invested in his business. Then, when the money ran out, he found me. I thought about our courtship, how intensely he had pursued me. Had he seen dollar signs from the beginning, or did the thought of murder only come later when the debts piled up again? Detective Reeves brought in a forensic accountant who revealed the full extent of Marcus's financial collapse. He owed $3.2 million to various creditors, including offshore lenders who were not the kind to accept bankruptcy as an excuse. He had been juggling accounts, using credit cards to pay off other credit cards, selling assets just to survive. My inheritance had been a lifeline, but not enough. He needed the insurance money too. Rachel's pharmacy connections were investigated next. She had been stealing small amounts of drugs for months. Not enough to raise suspicion, but enough to build a lethal dose.
She had done her research carefully, using library computers to avoid being traced, but the library had cameras, and her library card records matched her searches. The investigator found something else, too. Marcus had a third woman, Linda, whom he had dated before me. She had ended things when he became too intense, but she kept his emails. In one of them, he had written, "If I can't have you, I'll find someone who appreciates what I have to offer, someone who won't leave me, someone who can't leave me." That was what I had been to him, someone who couldn't leave. But the most chilling discovery came from Marcus's own phone. He had recorded videos, not of us, thankfully, but of himself. He had been practicing his anniversary speech, rehearsing his grief. He stood in our bathroom mirror crying, saying things like, "I can't believe she's gone," and "she was everything to me." There were 17 videos over the past month. In one, he even critiqued his performance. "Too much emotion. Dial it back. You're sad, not hysterical." James Mitchell, the waiter who saved my life, became somewhat of a hero in the investigation. His decision to warn me had been impulsive, he admitted, but he had been watching Marcus all evening. "I recognized him," James told the police. "My sister dated him 10 years ago. When his first wife died, I always wondered. When I saw him at the restaurant, I was going to ignore it, none of my business. But then I saw him put something in the wine. He was so smooth, so practiced. It took him less than 3 seconds. That's when I knew this wasn't his first time." James's sister, Kelly, came forward too. She had dated Marcus for 6 months before Jennifer. He was charming at first, then possessive, then frightening. When I tried to leave, he said he'd rather see me dead than with someone else. I moved to another state to get away from him. The evidence was overwhelming. Marcus and Rachel were both charged with attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and, in Marcus's case, additional charges related to Jennifer's death, even though it couldn't be proven conclusively after so long. The trial date was set for 6 months later. From his hospital bed and later his jail cell, Marcus tried to maintain his innocence. He claimed I had known about the poison and switched the glasses to frame him. He said Rachel was just a confused friend. He said Jennifer's death had been a tragedy he never recovered from. But the evidence didn't lie. The security footage, text messages, internet searches, practice videos, and testimonies from multiple women all painted the picture of a man who solved his problems by eliminating them. The news coverage was relentless. Headlines screamed, "Manhattan anniversary dinner turns deadly. Wife switches poisoned wine glass. Husband attempts to kill second wife." But none of them captured the real story. The slow, deliberate planning of a psychopath who had smiled at me every morning for 5 years while plotting my death. I couldn't stay in our apartment. Everything there felt poisoned. Sarah helped me move into a temporary place while I decided what to do next. Divorce papers were filed immediately. Attempted murder tends to simplify those proceedings. Marcus fought it from jail, of course, but no judge sided with him. Therapy began right away. Dr. Louise Freeman specialized in survivors of attempted homicide by intimate partners, a specialty I never knew existed until I needed it. "What you're feeling is normal," she said during our first session. "The shock, the anger, the grief, you're mourning the person you thought he was, the life you thought you had." She was right. I grieved for the Marcus I thought I'd married, the man who held me during my mother's funeral, who surprised me with weekend trips, who sang off-key in the shower every morning. That man never existed, but I mourned him anyway. The legal proceedings dragged on. Marcus's assets were frozen pending the divorce and trial. I learned he had already spent part of my inheritance, about $200,000, to pay off his most dangerous creditors. I would never see that money again, but I was alive to be angry about it, and that was more than he had planned. I used the remaining inheritance to start a foundation, the Jennifer and Gina Foundation for Domestic Violence Survivors. Patricia, Jennifer's sister, co-founded it with me. We focused on helping women escape dangerous relationships, especially those involving financial abuse and coercive control. James Mitchell became a friend. I ensured he received the reward money an anonymous donor had offered for information about Marcus, $50,000, which I suspect came from Jennifer's parents. He used it to go back to school, studying criminal psychology. He told me, "I want to understand how people like Marcus think. Maybe I can help stop them before they kill someone." 6 months into the aftermath, I met other survivors. There was a support group for people whose partners had tried to kill them. It sounded like something it shouldn't exist, yet there were 12 of us in that room. Each story was different, yet hauntingly similar. The escalation, the financial motive, the careful planning, the moment of realizing the person you loved most wanted you dead. "The hardest part," said one woman whose husband had tried to poison her slowly with antifreeze, "is trusting anyone again. How do you ever believe someone loves you after this?" I didn't have an answer then. I'm not sure I have one now. The trial began 8 months after that anniversary dinner. Marcus had lost weight in jail. His expensive suits were replaced with the cheap gray one provided by the public defender's office. He had fired 3 lawyers who told him to plead guilty, finally finding one willing to argue his delusional story. Rachel took a plea deal, 15 years for attempted murder, with parole possible after 7. She testified against Marcus, crying on the stand as she described their plan. She seemed remorseful, though I couldn't tell if she was sorry for what she'd done or just sorry she'd been caught. Marcus was found guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 25 years to life, with no parole for 15. When the sentence was read, he turned to me in the gallery. For just a moment, the mask fell, and I saw pure rage in his eyes. Then, he smiled, the same charming smile that had once won me over, and mouthed, "This isn't over." Security escorted me out through a different exit. His threats from prison continued for months until new charges were added to his sentence.
It has been a year now since that anniversary dinner. A year since James Mitchell saved my life with 6 whispered words. A year since I switched those wine glasses and watched my husband drink his own poison. The foundation has helped 47 women escape dangerous relationships. We provide emergency housing, legal help, financial guidance, and therapy. Every woman we help feels like a small victory against Marcus, a reminder that his evil didn't win. I moved to a new city, needing a fresh start where I wasn't known as the woman from the poisoned wine case. I found a job at a nonprofit again, returning to the work I loved before Marcus convinced me to quit. My new colleagues don't know my story, and I prefer it that way. Dating seemed impossible at first. How do you trust again after something like this? How do you believe in love when love once tried to kill you? But 6 months ago, I met Daniel at a foundation fundraiser.
He was there because his sister had been murdered by her husband 10 years ago. He understood the weight of betrayal, the fragility of trust, and the way you question every small gesture. We're taking things slowly, painfully slowly. We've been dating for 6 months, and he still asks permission before ordering for me at restaurants. He shows me his phone whenever it buzzes. He introduced me to his family on our second date. He understands why I need to see the ingredients when he cooks. He understands why I'll never share finances. He understands. "I'm not Marcus," he told me once when I panicked because he brought me tea I hadn't asked for. "I know you need to verify that every day. That's okay. I'll wait." The trial's aftermath revealed even more. A week after Marcus's sentencing, I got a call from a woman in Chicago. Marcus had dated her 15 years ago, before Jennifer. She had kept journals too, documenting his escalating control. She escaped only because her brother threatened to go to the police. Marcus had moved to another state after that, reinventing himself. How many of us were there? How many women had Marcus practiced on before he perfected his technique? Detective Reeves, who had become a friend through all this, told me they'd reopened investigations into 3 other deaths connected to Marcus over the years. An ex-girlfriend who died in a hiking accident, a business partner who overdosed, and a neighbor who fell down the stairs. All could have been accidents. All had life insurance policies naming Marcus as the beneficiary. "We may never prove all of it," Detective Reeves said, "but he's never getting out. The additional charges, the threats from prison, he'll die in there." James Mitchell graduated with his degree in criminal psychology. He now works with the police, specializing in domestic violence cases. We have lunch once a month, checking in on each other. He told me recently that his sister, Kelly, the one who dated Marcus years ago, finally feels free. She carried guilt for 20 years, he said. She thought if she'd reported him, maybe Jennifer would still be alive. Maybe you wouldn't have gone through this. But now she knows she wasn't crazy. He really was dangerous. The restaurant, Leonard, sent me a letter of apology and a lifetime ban on Marcus, which seemed redundant given his life sentence. They also introduced new staff training on how to recognize and respond to suspicious behavior. James' quick thinking became part of their training video. The hardest part of this new life is the hypervigilance. Every romantic gesture feels like a potential threat. Every gift might hide a trap. Every kindness could be manipulation. Dr. Freeman says it will fade with time, that I'll learn to trust my instincts again instead of second-guessing everything. "Your instincts saved you," she reminds me. "You knew something was wrong. You switched those glasses." She's right. I did know. Deep down, I had known for a long time that Marcus wasn't who he pretended to be.
I ignored that voice, rationalized it away, chose comfort over truth. Never again. I've started speaking at domestic violence conferences, sharing my story with rooms full of social workers, police officers, and survivors. I always end with the same message: trust your instincts. That uncomfortable feeling, that voice whispering something's wrong, listen to it.
It might save your life. Last week, I received a letter from prison. Not from Marcus, his mail is blocked, but from Rachel. She said she was sorry, that she had been manipulated too, and hoped I could forgive her someday. I threw it away. Some things don't deserve forgiveness. Yesterday was my wedding anniversary. 6 years since I married Marcus. 1 year since he tried to kill me. I spent it with Daniel, Sarah, and James, having dinner at a small Italian restaurant where I could see the kitchen and watch my food being prepared. It wasn't romantic, it wasn't fancy, but it was safe, and I was alive. That was everything. That evening, Patricia called. Jennifer's parents had used Marcus's old life insurance payout, the one from Jennifer, to fund a scholarship for women leaving abusive relationships. The first recipient starts college next month, studying to become a lawyer specializing in domestic violence cases. Jennifer would have loved that, Patricia said, taking his blood money and turning it into something good. The truth is, I'll never be the person I was before that anniversary dinner. That Gina trusted too easily, loved too blindly, ignored too many red flags. This Gina knows that sometimes the person who says they love you most is the one sharpening the knife behind their back. This Gina knows that Prince Charming might be practicing his eulogy while kissing you goodnight. But this Gina also knows that guardian angels come in unexpected forms, like a young waiter who chose courage over silence. This Gina knows that survival itself is victory. And this Gina knows that helping other women escape is the best revenge against a man who thought women were disposable. Marcus was wrong about one thing. This isn't over. Not the way he meant it. His story is over. Locked behind bars where he'll die. But my story, the story of the 47 women our foundation has helped, the story of every woman who hears mine and decides to trust her instincts and leave, those stories are just beginning. Sometimes I think about that moment in the restaurant, when I held both wine glasses in my hands, making the choice that would save my life. Such a small act, switching 2 glasses, but it changed everything. It revealed a monster, saved a life, and started a movement. The moral of this story isn't complicated. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. When your instincts scream danger, listen. And sometimes, just sometimes, the stranger who whispers a warning is the angel you didn't know you needed. Trust your gut. It knows what your heart refuses to admit. And if you're in a relationship that feels wrong, even if you can't explain why, get out. Get help. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. Don't wait for your anniversary dinner. Don't wait for the poisoned wine. Don't wait for a guardian angel waiter. Be your own guardian angel. Switch the glasses. Save yourself. Because you deserve a love that heals you, not one that poisons you. You deserve a partner who plans your future, not your funeral. You deserve to live.